Hey everyone, welcome back to my channel and happy Valentine's Day. In honor of all things warm and comforting, we're gonna be squishing together two sacred snack experiences. We're gonna take the oh so nostalgic milk and cookies and combine it with its elegant counterpart, the tea and biscuits, which just sounds so fancy. We're gonna take these two, combine them, and then wrap it all up in a really pretty rosy bow, quite literally, not the wrapping part, but the rosy part. And I know, rose can be kind of a decisive flavor, particularly in the US where it's not as common, but I promise if you use rose in the right way and with the right ingredients, it comes off kind of light and fruity and not at all soapy. For the warming drink, we're making a spiced rose milk tea. The chai spices mellow and accent the soft floral notes from the homemade rose simple syrup. For a little added decadence, it's topped with a white chocolate, whipped cream, and rose petals, because why not? This tea latte is so good all by itself, but you know what would make it better? A cookie. A rose tea cookie, to be exact. It's a quick, buttery cookie with cardamom, vanilla, and rose that just kind of melts away as you eat it. I love this style of cookie. It's super simple, but it comes across as way fancier than it is. We're gonna make the cookies first, just so that they're ready for the tea later. Start by chopping 1 cup of walnuts pretty finely. You want them to look something like this. Now, toast the walnuts on a dry skillet over medium heat, stirring often for about 5 minutes or until the nuts are slightly golden. Then put them aside to cool. Just be careful, nuts can burn pretty quickly, so just keep an eye on them and be sure to keep stirring. Now take out some sort of mixer and cream together 2 sticks of salted butter, which is equal to about 16 tablespoons, which sounds awful in tablespoons. It's only 2 sticks. We're also gonna use a 1/2 cup of powdered sugar, 2 teaspoons of vanilla, 1 teaspoon of cardamom, 1 heaping teaspoon of dried and then crushed food grade rose petals. This is one of those foods, it's better to opt organic, just because the store-bought roses, if you choose to use those, have pesticides all over them, and we don't want those in our cookies. Now to finish everything up, we're gonna add in a 1/2 teaspoon to 1 full teaspoon of rose water and mix until smooth. You can add more or less rose water depending on your taste. If you're new to the flavor of rose, I recommend opting for the 1/2 teaspoon, and if you love the flavor of rose, I would do a full teaspoon. Now add 2 cups of flour, and if you used unsalted butter, add a sprinkle of salt, then mix until combined well. When your mixture looks something like this, add your cooled walnuts and mix until just combined. You don't want to completely crush all of your walnuts. That sounds like a joke, but it's not. Don't crush the walnuts. Now we're all set to roll the dough into 1-inch balls and place them on a parchment-lined baking sheet. These guys won't puff up too much, but just to be safe, space them out at least 1 inch away from each other. Now, pop these in the oven at 375 degrees and bake for about 12 minutes, or until the edges are lightly browned at the base. I'm sure you've noticed how small my baking sheet is. It is very small. I can do 6 at a time, and that's because I bake all of my baked goods in a convection oven. This is really only a problem for me for things like this and holidays and birthdays, so I guarantee this will be a faster process for you. Now it's time to roll the warm cookies in powdered sugar. You could of course use just plain powdered sugar, but I'm gonna get a little extra fancy and use a cake luster. A cake luster is a powdered pigment that bakers will use in order to paint their fondant. We're gonna be using it today to tint our powdered sugar, and not only will it give the powdered sugar a really pretty rose color, but it also will make them a little sparkly. In 1 bowl, I'm gonna mix a teaspoon of pink cake luster into a cup of powdered sugar. Then in another bowl, I'm gonna mix in a teaspoon of burgundy cake luster into a cup of powdered sugar. Honestly, I'd probably be smart to sift these together, particularly the darker color, so the color is really even throughout, but I just used a fork and it came out okay. I really like the way the burgundy color came out. For some reason, it really reads as like a true rose color to me. Anyway, roll the hot cookies in powdered sugar and place on a cookie platter to cool completely to room temperature. Look how cute! I just love how the luster kind of tints the actual cookie and then the powdery stuff lives on top. I just think they're so cute! I'm so happy. I did roll them again for a second time in the powdered sugar, not only to get a more even color, but also that they stored a little bit easier and didn't stick together. Just make sure that you let the cookies cool completely for the first roll and then roll it again in the second. The way these made my house smell is insane. I mean, if you bake cookies in your house, your kitchen's gonna smell wonderful regardless, but these are rose cookies, so it smells like butter and vanilla and like a hint of soft floral rose. It's just wonderful, and I want to put it in a candle. I want to squish it and make it a candle. That's what I want. For you and for me. Oh, good. So good. Okay, so now let's make our spiced rose milk tea to go with our pretty cookies. As a side note, I will be using my milk tea maker, and I'm gonna be reviewing it in my next video, so if you're interested in that, be sure to check that out. But if you don't have that, you can of course do this over the stove as well. This milk tea is gonna be very creamy and composed entirely of milk. If that's not your thing, you can absolutely sub out 1/4 cup of milk for water. So I'm gonna put a little over a cup of milk into my milk tea maker. Then I'm gonna fill the tea chamber part with my favorite chai tea blend. It has a nice spice to it with cinnamon, ginger, and some black pepper. The spicy notes are so nice with the soft floral notes of the rose, and a great way to get into rose flavored things if you haven't already. If you're not fond of chai, you can always use another black tea, but I do recommend a spicier tea. Now I'm just gonna let the little tea maker do its thing. It takes about 3 minutes. Like I said, you can do this over the stove as well. Just put your tea and your milk together, simmer it over the stove until it turns like a golden caramel color. I just want to note that this is not an authentic chai recipe. I wouldn't want to disrespect a true chai because like a lot of tea, there's a lot of care and tradition that goes into it. Oftentimes chai recipes are passed down from generation to generation, and it becomes a really personal and sacred piece of family history. So I just want to note this is a milk tea that is inspired by the masala chai flavors. Now strain your tea from your milk, and we're gonna add a tablespoon of rose simple syrup. You can buy this online or in a local grocery store, but I highly recommend you make it yourself. The homemade version is a little bit more nuanced and not so in-your-face floral. To make the rose simple syrup, put 1 cup of sugar and 1 cup of water in a saucepan. A simple syrup is just that, equal parts sugar to water. Then, once that's simmering, add in 2 tablespoons of dried rose petals. Again, make sure you're using food grade petals to avoid those pesticides. Now let this simmer for about 5 minutes and then take off the heat and mix in 1.5 teaspoons of rose water and set aside to cool. Once it's cooled, you can put it into a container of some sort. Something that pours will make it easier for you later, and something that's airtight will make it store longer. Be sure to keep this in your fridge and it'll last you about 2 to 3 weeks. Now add 1 tablespoon of your rose simple syrup to your milk tea, and now we're gonna whip up our topping. To make the white chocolate whipped cream, take about 3 tablespoons of whipping cream in a tall container. Reason being, we're whipping the cream, so if the container's not tall enough, it might get everywhere. Also, using very cold cream makes for the best soft and airy whipped cream. Now, we're cheating and using 1/2 tablespoon of Ghirardelli's white chocolate syrup because it's quick and delicious. Using a milk frother, which by the way, if you don't have one, you should get one. They're really cheap and they make every drink, especially hot drinks, better and fancier. But yes, use the milk frother to whip up the cream and the syrup. Once you have your topping, add it to the chai, and to put it all together, sprinkle your tea with rose petals. Now look. Spicy and rosy and decadent, all the things to love about Valentine's Day. I hope you guys enjoyed these recipes. Rose is one of those scents and flavors that's really like sentimental to me. It's very nostalgic and special, and putting it into a little tea time just makes it even more special. So I hope you can try these recipes out, and if you do, I'd love to hear about it in the comments below. I hope you all have a wonderful Valentine's Day, and as always, please like, comment, and subscribe, and I will see you in the next video. Thanks so much, bye!